Okay, I just finished recoding my grid trading EA to take into account the timing rules that he just created, or that he just posted to the site, which a short summary of that is the initial trade starts with 2 contracts. The first contract is exited out at plus 20 pips to lock in profit, and then once you hit plus 40 pips, you start doing the normal grid trading that I'm used to doing, or that my EA typically does. So I recoded my EA to take into account this initial break between the 0 and 40 pips, the initial first contract going out at 20 pips, and the initial stop loss being at negative 20 pips. So I'm going to go through the options that I've created and show you how they apply. The initial lots is set to 2. That's because normally I trade 1 lot, so I made it 2 lots to show double. If you normally trade 0.5, you can set that to 1. It all depends on what you want to do. You don't want to over leverage yourself, so please keep that in mind. The lots option tells the EA how many lots to trade once you get up to 40 pips and get into regular grid trading. I set that to 1 because that's typically what I do, and that's half of the initial lot, so that's how I set that. The stop loss is just the initial stop loss. When you first enter the trade, what is the stop loss set to? The default here is negative 20, and I've made it 20 pips. Again, that could be changed. The take profit does not seem to be used in the timing method. I have it just in case I want to make sure I get a whole lot of profit, because typically the way you exit these types of trades with grid trading is with a stop loss, meaning at least one of your trades is always going to be a loss. If you do it this way, you can try to maximize your profit, especially if it hits a pivot line or a line where you're pretty sure it might retrace from. The increment line, the default is set to 20 pips. That's because I see here his increments are going up in 20 pips, so that's how I set it. Again, that can be changed. The initial increment is 40 pips. This is where I tell the EA, do not start doing your grid trading until you're 40 pips up, until you're 40 pips in. That's what the initial increment is about. The time and take profit is set to 20 pips because that's where Timon's first contract takes profit. That's where you lock the profit in, and that's what I've set to the time and take profit variable. The running stop loss, usually you want to set this to be the same as the increment, but I changed it. I made it an option just in case you want to change that. The running stop loss tells the EA how to trail your trades as it's going up. So when you get to 60 pips, the trailing stop loss will be at 40 pips. When you get to 80 pips, it'll be at 60 pips, and it goes up every time a new trade is made. So these next 2 options, I'm probably going to set them blank for you guys. This is just something that I personally have been experimenting with. I've been experimenting with taking a trade on a different currency pair. I think usually this is USD Japan, and this one I usually set to, I don't know, GBP USD. So what this tells the EA to do is, when you initially take the trade, when it hits your trend line, if it's a buy, then you will also buy, because that's you will buy the USD Japan. If it's a buy, you will also sell the Great Britain Pound USD, US dollar. So I set it that way, or I made these options up as a way to reduce your risk by also taking trades in other currencies that are either positively, negatively, or neutrally correlated to the pair that you're in. You guys probably just want to set this to blank because you don't want to be taking extra trades. Timing mode, if you're trading the timing method, to set this to 1. If not, set it to 0. There are some additional optimizations that I put in just in case something unexpected happens. And the speed, this is set to slow down the EA when you're in backtesting mode. Otherwise, when you set this slider to 32, it'll go too fast for you to be able to see anything at all. So set this to 400 or 200 depending on how fast or slow you want that to go. Okay, this went through all that. Now, in order to backtest, this is how we backtest and this is how we trade using this EA. To get to the backtester or the strategy tester, click on View, go to Strategy Tester. That'll open up this extra window we have down here. Now, for Expert Advisor, you can set final underscore timing. I'll probably be renaming that. For the symbol, set whatever symbol you want and set these accordingly however you want them. Then click on Start. Usually while this is loading up, I set my template to something pretty. I push these two buttons so the graph will follow with time, and I set this to not 32 just so I can see what's going on first. So the way that you trade with this EA, whether you're back testing or not, it trades all with trend lines. So you create a new trend line, you draw it on your graph, and then you name the trend line based on what you want to do. So right now I just want to get into this trade very quickly so we can see how this works. I'll set it down there. Once you set your trend line, it needs to know what type of trade you want to do. Right click on the trend line, go to properties, and change the name. If you want it to be a sell stop, name it SS for sell stop. Sell limit, SL. Buy limit, BL. Buy stop, BS. So what I've done is, if you want to trade with the timing method, you simply add a T at the end. If you want to trade normally without the timing method, don't add the T. So I want to do a sell here, so I'll do sell stop T for timing and press OK. As soon as I click on this button to start, this line will turn green to show that the EA has recognized that it is a trend line that will make a trade. And you can see here it made that trade, and it immediately set, let's zoom in here, immediately set the stop loss to about 20 pips, just like it should. This line is the timing, sell timing, take profit. This is where you lock in your pips, and that is also set to 20 pips. This is set to 40 pips because this is where you start doing the grid trading. And let's see what this trade does. Okay, so this trade stopped out. So we should be at negative 40 pips now. Click on results. Yes, negative 40 pips. So let's try it again. Let's just going to keep doing random trades so we can see how this works. Sell, stop, time in. One of these has to go into profit. Okay, this one, it looks like it went down. So first went down 20 pips, we locked in our profit there, and then it went back up and hit the break even. So we ended up with one trade at plus 20 pips and one trade at break even. I set it to be a little bit more than break even because sometimes the spread can change and move around, and I don't like having any negative trades even if it's -1. I may set an option to make that adjustable if you want, if people ask for it. So now let's see here, let's experiment with the buy. I'll make this a buy stop, timing, T for timing, and I'll just move this up to make sure it trades immediately. Click on the start button, and we see here we're in the trade. Same parameters as before. Okay, so you see here, as soon as it hit this, we locked in our 20 pips profit, and it set the stop loss to break even here. And let's see what this does. Okay, so it hit that, the plus 40, and that means it starts doing the grid trading, and it also means that it sets your stop loss to plus 20. So the grid trading, you see here, there's another buy stop that was made to enable the gridding. Okay, unfortunately this one started going down. So you see here a quick sample of how this works. This was our buy, it went up, we got it there, 40 pips there, so we made another trade to start the gridding, but it went back down. So this trade went up 20, this trade went down 20, and this trade went up 20, so we should have a net of 20 pips there also, and we do. Okay, so if you have any further questions, you can post it, and that should be it.